think another one of the biggest lies, and perhaps this one's the most grating, is that Chris and you have no specific tax plan. You're just going to walk in January and just not know what to do. You haven't told the people in New Jersey at all how you are different from John Corzine.
The beautiful part about that is even John Corzine has backed away from that. In the last debate, you didn't hear John Corzine attacking Chris for no plan, and it seems to be the only mantra Chris Daggett has is, notwithstanding the fact that Chris has come forward with some very specific cuts in spending, Chris has a different theory of government. Less government, less taxes is going to kickstart this economy. And what's the explanation? It's simple. We have the highest property taxes in the country, the highest income taxes in the country, and the absolute worst small business climate. If you continue that, why would you ever expect a business to come to New Jersey? I mean, if you're a business person and you could open an office or a manufacturing facility or a small business any place in the country, why would you pick New Jersey if it's absolutely the worst economy, business environment in the country? You wouldn't. How are you going to make the economy and the atmosphere better and more welcoming? We're going to lower taxes. That helps us because we bring more jobs back. We keep our families together and bring families back together. It's a whole different way of looking at the economy than the John Corzine, Chris Daggett tax and spend and borrow policies that they've frankly endorsed.
I thought Chris put it beautifully in the second debate when he said that my opponents see a revenue problem. Somehow we need to find more money for Trent to operate, to waste money. And I look at it, Chris Christie, as that we have a spending and debt and tax problem.
Well, we know, and
I
we
thought
know it's true.
Right.
We know it's true.
I thought that laid it out in a way that people really was clear and understandable, and there's a clear choice this year. 10 days to go, I think.
Yes.
How do you see the state of the race? Of course, Chris, and even after you joined the ticket, you led by a substantial margin for most of the summer.
Right.
Most of us saw that as artificial because Corzine hadn't unloaded most of his money. Now it's very tight. Most polls showed either completely even or maybe Chris just a little bit ahead.
Chris is going to win this race, and let me tell you why. Because back in July, he told me where we had to be 2 weeks out. In fact, he told us where we had to be on Labor Day, and we were doing several points, 4 points better on Labor Day than he said we needed to have in order to win this race. Remember, this is a state that went for President Obama by 15 points last year.
Sure.
The registration is incredibly skewed against Republicans. I think because John Corzine hasn't been able to move his numbers in the last year, almost a full year, he hasn't been able to move his numbers, even though he spent upwards of, $21 million already?
Oh, sure.
That tells you people are tired of what they're seeing. I know in the next 10 days they're going to get tired of seeing Chris Daggett's proposal to increase their gas taxes, increase their sales taxes.
I've had enough.
He's just taken, not only is he taken out of the property tax pocket, but he's going to take even more money out of this other sales tax pocket that he's proposed.
Again, the whole idea just that, Trent needs to have its money before we do. So just let's shift the burden to someone else.
And you haven't seen either one on the other side talk about where they're going to cut spending. You haven't seen it. They're not. They're going to continue the programs. In fact, John Corzine has advocated greater programs and expansion of programs where we can't afford the programs we have right now. We have an $8 billion budget deficit. It's got to stop. It's time for us to grow up.
No.
Every now and then, it's healthy and a wise thing to do is say no.
What a concept for Trenton.
Right.
Somebody to just put their foot down.
Yeah. There you go.
Going forward, over these last 10 days, right now we're having this interview at a phone bank in Camden County.
Yes.
Speaking to all our thousands of saved Jerseyans out there, what should and can they do to help you and Chris win and begin to affect this change that we've talked about throughout the course of this interview?
This is part of what we're doing today. My job is to get out the base, get people out to vote, get them motivated. It's not hard to get people motivated. I have gone in phone bank after phone bank, watching people get this ground game out. And that's what it is. It's now a ground game. It is get the vote out in a way that you've never seen people get out before. And they're willing to do it. I've gone to, these people are excited. I've gone to, even in my own county of Monmouth, which is traditionally kind of a strong Republican county, I've gone to rooms and dinners and events where I've not known anybody in the room. That's how excited people are.
People never engaged the process before.
People, after Chris appeared on 101.5 last week at 8 o'clock, I walked over to the Monmouth County Republican headquarters because I was local. I live there, I work there. And I walked in and introduced myself to 5 new faces, and one gentleman said, you know, I came out here because I heard Chris at 8 o'clock this morning and it's time for a change. I can't sit back and not do anything about it. People are hurt. They're in pain. They're scared. They're frightened.
Yeah.
If John Corzine wins for another 4 years, we're going to be bankrupt. So what we can do, and you're going to be good Republicans on this, what you can do is get to a phone bank, make phone
Right.
calls. Get to your friends, make sure they get out. You know, Republicans always say, oh, I want to vote, and 2 days later, inevitably, they come to me and say, well, I couldn't get out. This is the year where we really need to vote.
Right.
We really need to get our friends out to vote. We can't assume anything this time. It's going to be close. We knew it in February. Chris said it in his speech, in his announcement speech in February. This was going to be close. Whitman only won by a point, maybe less than a point. Tom Kane won by 1,700 votes. Every single vote this time is going to make a difference. So they can get out and vote. Help us with the ground game.
Absolutely, and you can visit either the NJGOP site, you can visit ChristyForNJ.com, or we have SaveJersey.com/Christy Victory to find phone bank locations.
Thank you.
Sheriff, it is always a pleasure to have you in South Jersey,
Yeah.
and we hope that you'll come back and chat with us again when you are Lieutenant Governor.
I absolutely will, and Chris will have a rally here in Vineland, believe it or not, on the 28th. That's Wednesday.
Absolutely. So definitely, if you're one of our South Jersey viewers/readers/listeners, head on over.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you
again,
very
Sheriff.
much.